We're going to be using this ball and one other one to work on this squatting movement to coordinate the movement of the shoulders, the hips, the knees, to keep the pressure stabilized on your feet where you require it for the movement, and to get these shoulders a little bit more cooperative, to slow them down for those people that stoop too quickly, and to speed them up for those people that hold them back more than not. So trying to get you into alignment and then hold that to do the squatting. Now in the last video, we introduced the squatting, and to work on the movement just by itself, sometimes that can lead to too much thinking, too much processing all the little bits and pieces, and it makes things a little bit difficult. One thought tends to lead to another thought, and then it becomes work. Well, we're going to use this ball to help mitigate some of that thinking and to get into more of a play mode to do the exact same things we were working on that you always have to use for this squatting movement, for all these different movements that you do. So this ball is a basketball. This is the ladies' pro size, which is about 2/3 the size of the standard male big boys ball. And the reason for that is it's a little bit easier to handle, especially for those with the stiffened hands. And make sure that you have one that has these little riblets on it, or has some texture to it, so it's easier to grasp. This has a good weight and a good texture, and the rebound is good. Now, I also use these with a little bit of under inflation, and the reason for that is I don't want them to bounce, to rebound easily. The people I work with, I make them work a little bit. So instead of the ball bouncing all the way back up here where they can just stay right here and not have to move, this underinflated ball, by not rebounding that high, forces them to lower their body. Now, what are we going to be doing here? There are a couple things. Actually, there are about 3 or 4 things that we're going to be doing with the 2 different balls. But let's get started first with the people that have a great deal of problem with bringing their shoulders forward. Now, just a little bit of a recap. Those people with the stooping posture, their shoulders move forward too easily, and they tip forward. Those people with the restricted posture where they're holding their shoulders back, it's more difficult to get them to come forward. Now, why is that? I know we've covered this before in other videos, but there's a lot of redundancy and a lot of going back over things to bring you up to date, or things that you may have forgotten, or just have so much information going in that you don't put it in there. The reason is, remember, as their posture becomes stiffened, that means their feet are becoming stiff, and anytime they come forward, those feet being board-like, they're tipping forward. So they learn to stay back a little bit, and now they're on the heel almost all the time with their shoulders back. They don't like to come forward because of that tip. So we have to get the stooper out of moving the shoulders way too forward. We have to get the other person with shoulders back not afraid to bring the shoulders forward, and when they do, not be tipping forward. So 2 different problems here. At least the appearance is that they are different problems, but they're actually the same problem. almost identical. Yes, one's forward and the other is back, but the correction for them is the same. They both need to gain better control of their shoulders. They both need to center them and get their feet flattened to get stable and then coordinate that movement. So their problem is under controlling the movement of the upper body, of the shoulders. The solution is gaining control. And the way to do that is the same for both. And you're going to see that over and over and over again with different movement-related, posture-related problems. They may look different on the surface, but in fact, they're the same issue, the same problem, disguised in a different costume, let's say. But the correction is the same. They need to gain the same ability and control to be able to do natural movements more of the way they would like to be doing them. So first, let's get started with the people that have the most problem with the erratic movement of their shoulders and the most problem with being unstable standing on their feet. Because of this upper body problem or because it's a weakness of the legs problem, for them, we're going to start in the chair doing the exact same thing that we're going to later be doing standing up. And sitting here in the chair gives them the safety net that they need. It gives them the stability that they need. So to begin, have your feet just a little bit further forward than your knee. And the reason for that is when the people that come forward too far with the shoulders, they're not going to be tipping out of the chair. Now, if their feet are way back here and they come forward, yes, they can tip out of that chair because the pressure moves too far forward in the feet. So having their feet forward of the knees, when I move forward, that pressure in my feet also moves forward, but it doesn't go out into the ball area and the toes. Instead, it's still, at this point, in the heels, and that pressure in the heels is pushing me back, even when they're coming forward. So they are still stable, and they will not be falling forward out of the chair. The other part is to have these knees spread apart. Have the feet spread apart because you want a place for this basketball to bounce. And you want a place where you have plenty of room to move here. So after getting set in this posture, then bring your shoulders forward just a little bit. And this will be a ready stance when you're standing, but now you're in this chair. And the other thing is you're going to hold this ball out in front of you just like this. See where my elbows are? They're a little bit forward and they're flexed. Getting them to relax is going to be an issue for you. Keeping your shoulders down as well is the other thing. And holding the ball. Right now I'm holding it with the full part of my hand. We don't want to do that. That puts too much hand finger area on the ball. Plus, it causes people to tighten up that grip without even realizing they're doing it. You don't want to squeeze that ball. You want to hold it just very lightly. And you want to hold it just with your fingertips. A light hold is all you need. You'll see some people, instead of doing a relaxed hold like this, they'll tighten up this way like a spider or hunching up. Relax, relax, relax. Because when we drop this ball, we're not going to open our hands and open our arms. All we're going to do is let it slip from our fingers. And it will when you just relax the fingers. So with the holding it with just your fingertips and the tips of your thumb, just having your fingerprint on the ball, you're going to come forward and then straighten up just a little bit, drop the ball, and then come forward with your shoulders to catch the ball. Now, I'm going to leave my arms and hands right here. And the only thing I moved was my shoulders. Arms, hands, right here. Shoulders. We're working on controlling the shoulders here. Nothing else. Now, I also want to move far enough forward so I'm slightly under that ball when it comes back down. But you'll find people with these guarded, stiffened postures, what you will do is you're reacting to this ball. It'll drop, and then you'll come out with your arms and hands trying to catch it. This way. No. We're trying to get away from that. This is just this. You might try this with just the ball in your hand, just coming forward with your shoulders and forcing yourself not to move your arms. And this is also not throwing it down to the floor, which is what many of you will do. Dropping the ball gently, gently. Shoulders coming forward. You're anticipating the movement of the ball. You're anticipating where the ball is going to be. And then when you get better with that, you're going to drop it and let it bounce a couple of times. Now, let me turn the chair around because there's something else many people with these guarded, stiffened postures will do. They won't be able to relax these arms and hands very well. So to let go of the ball, they can't release the stiffness in these fingers to just let the ball slide away. What they have to do instead is, and those types of things happen. Tight, tight, tight. Hear the slapping on that ball? And I'm not exaggerating there much, because many of you will do that. To get this ball to drop, you'll open up your arms and then come back together. And your fingers will be, and hands will be like this. And you're going to have all sorts of problems that you induce that way. So there again, it's just this fingertip hold. Just fingertip. It's learning how to relax these hands. So just let that ball drop. Just opening up the fingers just a little bit. That's all. When you're doing this, these aren't going to work very well because of all the stiffness. Slow, relaxed, postural control. Relax these fingers. Let the ball drop. And be down there to get it. Hold pressure in these feet the whole time. How much? Doesn't take a lot. But you must hold constant pressure in them. You don't want your feet coming off the floor doing this stuff, because that shows you're not holding that pressure down into your feet. Pretty obvious. But it also shows the guarding and the stiffness that you have in your posture. And you'll be all over the place. And thank God you're in the chair when you're doing that stuff. So learn how to do this. Learn how to control the movement of the shoulders. Learn how to relax these hands as you're using this ball. And that will allow you to do it better when you stand up on your feet, which is where we're going to go now. When standing to do this, you need to begin in a ready stand. You need to begin on your flattened feet, stable, to be able to relax your shoulders and your hands. And you're going to be holding that ball in the exact same way I just showed in the chair, with just your fingertips, and just releasing that ball from your fingers to let it drop. But then the additional thing is, of course, you're going to be coming down with your knees to retrieve the ball. Starting here, and down here. Now, let's go profile. I want you to hold this ball in front of you and feel how the weight of this ball changes the location of the pressure on your feet. If you are holding it back here or not holding a ball at all, flat feet, and that's where I am right now. These feel pretty darn flat, right there. Now when I bring this ball here, watch what happens. I'm not doing that to prove a point. The ball is doing that. The weight of the ball, when it's close to me, this weight moves that pressure slightly forward on my feet. And as I bring it out, it goes further and further. The pressure goes further and further out forward in my feet. Beware of that. You don't want to hold that ball way out here, because you are going to be way out here on your toes, and then to compensate for that, you have to bring your shoulders back. What happens when you release the ball? Well, if you're in the garden stiffened posture, back you go, because you've just lost this weight that you're counterbalancing. So you need to keep your elbows flexed and the ball closer, and this added weight is going to move that pressure forward on your feet near or right in the ball area of your feet. Now, you don't have to think about that. You don't have to put it there. It's going to be there just by having this ball in your hands, as long as you're relaxed and allowing your body to move where it needs to be. And this is where you want it to be anyway, out there towards the ball area of your feet. And if you see, where are my shoulders with all this? They're a little bit forward, and I'm still stable, and you will be stable too, provided you keep pushing that pressure down into your feet, which you will be just by doing the movement, and staying relaxed and not doing silly stuff with your knees, hips, and shoulders. You'll be there. You'll be okay. But many of you will have a problem with it because of your old reactionary mindset. It's that non-trust of your shoulders coming forward. You'd be holding them back, you drop the ball, and you wait, and then come down and try to catch the ball. But part of this is not only working on having a smoother dynamic posture to control that better, it's also starting to form an anticipatory mindset. And that is, okay, I know when I drop this ball, it's not going to come back here. It's going to be down here. So I need to be down there, and you want to be down there waiting on it instead of rushing, trying to be there after the fact. And that's a big key. Relax, anticipate it. When you drop this ball, knees go down. Come back up in this high ready stance. Drop it. You're right there. Come back. You're working on that squatting and standing, keeping stable on your feet, as well as relaxing, coordinating, and now playing with the ball, doing the exact same thing. So another thing people will do is they'll start lower and lower and lower and lower so they don't have to do very much. Well, it's not because they don't want to do as much, it's they forget. They forget to stand up. So they'll start here, and pretty soon they stay down here while they're doing that. So each time, drop it, squat, get it, come all the way back up to get the full benefit of this exercise. Once you get the hang of it, once you're able to relax, once you're able to loosen up these hands, it'll become easier, and you'll find that your squatting, standing, ready stance, all your movements are going to start to become a little bit easier. And it's not because of anything other than you are having better control of your posture. That's it. All these things will start to come back once you learn how to control your posture better. So while I have this in my hand, what's another tool, another exercise that you can use this ball for to help you gain even better control? All you basketball stars, what do you do with a basketball? Dribble it. Now, what am I working on here? I'm working on keeping my knees down, keeping my shoulders forward, staying in position, and I'm also working on using my knees to follow the ball and or move the ball and move my body with it. Use both hands. Alternate the use of your hands. Often you'll be dribbling that ball. The other arm, the other hand will be doing something funny, stiffening up, then this one stiffens up, and you lose everything with it. You don't want to be too far out here in front, because then you're stooping and reaching for it. That's not where you're supposed to be. Most everybody has done this in their life. Just try to remember what you did back when you were okay at this. It's the same posture as when you were dropping it. And then when you get relaxed, you can come up. Doesn't matter. You use the posture that you feel comfortable with to do what you want to do. But for people having these restricted postures, they need to over-exaggerate it at times just to be able to do half of what they think they're doing. They'll think that they're way down here when in fact they're up here. It's control the ball. And how do you control the ball? Fingers. Relaxed hand. Relaxed elbow. What's the movement for dribbling this ball? The elbow. This wrist. And you're using the fingertips again. You're using the reboundability of the ball to do the work. All you're doing is pushing enough pressure down through the ball to allow it to come back up to where you want. Plus, when it comes back, you need to get your hand up out of the way to let it finish its rebounding before you push it back down. And that's another big problem people will have, is with these stiffened arms, they'll get in the way of the ball, and now they're lower and lower and lower and lower. And when you have these relaxed fingers, ball stays right there. What about when it's stiff? Well, then it depends on what part of the hand or fingers it hits. And many of us with these stiffened hands, we've had lots of times where we jam our fingers because the ball would hit them and Doesn't feel too good. So, stiff. Slapping at the ball and pushing the ball away. And what's the point? All of the problems, it's not the ball's fault. It's your fault. It's you. You're the one controlling that ball or not controlling that ball. You're the one forcing it wherever it's going. Once you start to get comfortable, then it becomes more of a game, and you're thinking more about the game than you are about your posture and your movements, and things start to happen a little bit easier. And that's exactly where you want to go. You want your mind to get into the game to just be able to do the game better. After you get it one, and you're doing well, let it go 2, then 3, then 4. So each time you have to go lower, lower, lower to get the ball. Play games. Doesn't matter what the exact game is, as long as you're working on these important points. How do I control my posture better to do these movements? Now let's get a different ball. The ball we're going to be using now is a playground ball. And back in my day, when I was a kid, these were always a brick red color, and they were called Foursquare balls that you had at school. So what are we going to do with this ball? Well, you can do the exact same thing we did with the basketball. All of that. It's a little bit lighter ball. It bounces a little bit easier. But here again, have it slightly underinflated so you don't cheat as much. Because believe me, you will. And you'd only be cheating yourself when you do that. So, dribbling it, bouncing it on the floor, it's another thing you can do with either ball. And here, all I'm using are my thumbs and my index finger to push it down. Now, doing this, what am I working on here? And you can see I'm standing pretty upright. So, come on, what am I working on? Holding the pressure down into my feet, increasing the pressure, holding it, and the other big thing, shoulders. Up here higher, it's easier to, when you're pushing, when you have these postures that are used to starting movements with your upper body, you'll try to push this down by coming back. Be careful of that. So, ready stance. Get into your ready stance to start this. Spread your feet just a little bit. Give yourself a wider base. Ready stance. So when you push this down, again, that pressure is going to be forward just a little bit in your feet, and it's going to help you not do that so much. Now, this being a lighter ball and a bouncier ball, you can also use that wall as your partner for playtime. Now, if you have kids at home, especially smaller kids, moms and dads, aunts and uncles, whatever, use them as little coaches. They love to play, and they'll be more than happy to play with you. Don't be afraid to get them involved. And watch them, what they're doing, to learn what you need to do and what you're not doing sometimes. And use them instead of the wall of playing catch back and forth, that bouncy catch. Make up the games. Doesn't matter. Okay, so with this, I'm going to bounce the ball off the wall, and it'll bounce to the floor and back to me, and then I'll catch it. Now, you want to be in a ready stance and towards the ball area of your feet for a couple reasons. One, to keep you from falling backwards on your own of the overreaction with your shoulders. Two, is because of the weight and the force of the ball. When you throw this ball forward, your body's going to want to move backwards, and it will if you're standing up here too straight. So if you're in this ready stance and have the pressure towards the ball area of your foot, remember that pressure is pushing down but also backwards. It's pushing your body forward. So if this ball is coming back to you, for example, the force of that ball is going to want to push you back. But with that pressure in the ball area of your feet pushing your body forward because it's pushing backwards, you're going to counteract that. And the same goes for when you're throwing the ball. That force is going this way, but there's also a force, of equal and opposite force that's coming back this way. So you want that pressure, again, in the ball area of your foot to keep you forward, to stop this going backwards, and to keep you off your heels when you start the movement and when you're about to catch the ball. What else do you need to do before you throw it, and when that ball is coming back before you catch it? What else do you need to do? Think about it. Very simple, and you already know the answer. Relax, relax, hands. Before you throw this ball, you throw it with both hands forward, pushing it forward. That needs to be with relaxed hands. Otherwise, it goes all over the place. So you need to practice that. And when it's coming back at you, you need to remind yourself, relax, 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 and squat. Get in a deeper squat so you're more prepared. So you're making better use of that pressure in your feet, and you're more stable, and you have a better result. You have to remind yourself, relax, relax, relax those fingers over and over again when that ball is coming back to you, and begin before it starts coming back to you, so you're more prepared. Whether it's a physiological response or a psychological response, and there's a component of both in this, when we are about to catch something, we stiffen up. I had a big problem with that as well. And if I don't remind myself many times, I still do that. Not as much as I used to, but still do that. And the smaller the object is, like if somebody tosses me a golf ball, invariably I do that same thing. I have to remind myself. The bigger the ball is, not quite as much of a problem, but the problem is still there that you need to work. Okay, so you don't want to be too far away from the wall because you want to have the ability to get it there, but you also don't want to be too close to the wall because when you throw it, you won't have time to respond to the ball when it comes back to you. It'll be too quick. So you need to find your space where it's going to work for you and give it a trial and error. See what you can do. So pick a spot that is good for your ability at throwing, squatting, catching. And if you hit the floor first, it's a different bounce, and you'll have more time to react to the ball when it comes back towards you. Take a couple seconds before you do the movement to make sure your posture is correct. Relax. Practice it a little bit. Play with the ball. Oh, that one wasn't very good. It's okay. Some of you are going to have that problem. You won't be able to throw it very well to even get it to the wall. You'd be so stiff. You'd just be stuck, and you have to be very close just to make it to the wall. Well, let's try something. When you have that problem, that means you probably have a problem with your stability, and you need to be doing this in a chair, because every time you try to throw it, you're very unstable on your feet. So here, Same thing as when you were dropping it, same posture, but now it's, but here again, if you're too close, it's going to come back to you real quick. The bounce is going to be high, but when you do come back, and I came back there a little bit, this will be back behind you, the chair, the back of the chair, to save you. So let's back this chair up a little bit. Try it again. Better. Still, that rebound is pretty quick. For those of you that are doing this on your own, and you're trying to dribble the ball or just bounce the ball, and it ends up going all over the place, find a corner in your house. Corner where two walls come together. Sit your chair about right here. Then do it here. So when you lose it into the wall, it'll bounce back to you. Now, what's going to happen with some of you is the ball will escape this way. Well, you can do it or get somebody else to do it, to lay a couple chairs down or something to block that in. So in other words, you make yourself a little playpen like you would do for a toddler to pin them in, so that's your play area. That works for a lot of people, so you don't have to constantly chase the ball. Now, if you have little kids at home, sometimes they love chasing the ball, and they will help you with this. Let them dribble a little bit, let them bounce the ball a little bit, let them bounce it back and forth to you, whatever, or an adult doing the same thing with you. The more you can play with these, the better it's going to be for you. The less work it is, the better it's going to be. Those are just a couple things that you can do with the ball. They are great teaching aids. You already know how to squat, you know how to catch the ball, you know how to dribble the ball. The only thing you don't know is how to relax your body to allow you to do that all over again. Using these balls, you will teach yourself so much more than you can learn from any other source. Being told it, watching it, is a lot different than getting out there and doing it. And everything that I'm showing you in all these videos, these are the things that I had to do myself when I was working on getting better, when I was not so good. And these are also the same things that I use with everybody I work with. It's just the simple stuff that'll help you the most. You don't need any fancy therapy. You just need some good old basic common sense and know-how. How do I get rid of all this crap that I'm dealing with to be able to just do this?